Thanks for staying with us. Now, as the sentence was pronounced for singer R. Kelly, someone who remained anonymous throughout the trial issued a statement saying she felt like she could now start the healing process. This verdict, no doubt, hinged on their testimonies and willingness to recount personal trauma. For decades, these black women kept asking when they would be heard and when their voices would matter. This conviction is their Me Too victory. That's according to that anonymous witness. Now, in another vein, Jennifer Ho, I think that's her name, alongside her lawyer, Tyrone Blackburn, appeared on The Real, that's a talk show in America, to speak about the harassment she's endured from both Petty and his wife, Nicki Minaj, in efforts to get her to recant her story and to in turn clean up the couple's image and get him off the sex offenders list or registry in the US. So when asked why she decided to speak up about the situation, she said, "I am tired of being afraid. I feel like the action that we're taking in regards to this whole situation have put me in different types of fear at my age now, and it was wrong." This former employee of Nicki Minaj and her husband, Kenneth Petty, recounted how she was sexually harassed in 1994. Going through the feed online, as always, when victims of sexual abuse come out to speak up, there's always that question of why now? So we are asking, is there a right time to speak up when it comes to abuse? Now let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. All right, so it's quite interesting. First of all, I want to say that to all the women that went through all the horrific, treatment meted on them from the singer R. Kelly, I'm happy for them today that, okay, at least some level of justice. Although I'm not sure if I like the sentence, because I hear it's just 2 years.
No, he's not been sentenced. It's not been.
Oh, okay, that was just on one. Because I saw
no, it's not People are just speculating.
He's been found guilty.
I think his sentencing is in a month or there, but I'm not very sure.
Are you sure? Because I think I saw something in the news today talking about 2 years. But anyway,
no, it can't be 2 years because even the one I read said it takes decades.
On 11
so
counts.
Yeah, so I'm happy first of all that they found justice.
Yeah.
And the reason this conversation actually came up was this Nicki Minaj's story. It was actually like last or 2 weeks ago that we're supposed to talk about it. But we had to push it and keep it. Now that this R. Kelly sentence just came, it just somewhat ties up. Because sometimes people feel like, it has happened, move on. I mean, I saw a comment that was really touching to me. The person said, just collect the money. They're trying to offer you money, collect the money and just, shut up and just move on. As if it is easy. Like, is there a right time to speak up when it comes to sexual abuse? Who wants to go first?
The time for me, my own opinion, is when you think you're ready. Sometimes some people need to process the thought first before that. Some people are they have what it takes now to say, you know what, this has happened to me and I want to talk about it, I want to report it or something. But some people take a period of time to process what has actually happened to them. And sometimes it can go on for months, for years, before they're able to fully process what trauma that they have experienced, right? Or put words to it, actually. So there's no accurate time per se that or a stipulated time you say yes. It's the person who has been through that trauma that can determine for themselves that I believe that now is my time to speak up about what I've been through. That's the way I see, or my opinion about it.
Yeah, Elsie, you want to go? Uti, let me hear your thoughts on this.
Speaking out is a difficult thing. There's so many things to process beyond your emotions. There's processing the process because you think about having to recant your situation. You think about physical examinations. You think about so many things. How would you be perceived? Let's not forget that a huge part of this problem is how the victim herself, or himself actually, is perceived. Because the reality of it is you start to hear stupid statements like, what were you wearing? Where were you? What did you drink? What did you do? You know, like there's some act that justifies that as an outcome. So there's a lot to think about. And you think about it, for some people, even deeper into who you are. You know, you may find certain people in certain job types may think, I can't come out today to say, this happened to me, because people will say you deserve just to look at your job, look at what you do. Enough judgmental people in the world, you know, who are not taking into account the fact that no means no. This is a dastardly act that should never, ever happen. And what amazes me about it is the fact that it is still happening, that men feel like they have to resort to this to get what they want. In a world where we practically commercialize the thing, it's like it's not even currency anymore. That's the way it feels. But in terms of people speaking up, it's a very personal thing. The encouragement for me, or where I believe it is, the more people speak up. We need to create situations and environments where people feel safe to speak up.
Yes.
Because the more people speak up, the more we can put these monsters away. The more we can shine a spotlight. What has happened today with R. Kelly is a huge win. It's been an ongoing battle. Was it 13 years ago he was acquitted of child pornography? We remember how he married Aaliyah at 15 when he was 27. So this is a huge win. This is on the same level as, what's his name now, Harvey Weinstein. These are people who have been predators for so long. And they have used their lot in life, their position, to take advantage of people. So it's great when things like this happen, because people can then see that, you know what, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And it is possible for your voice to be heard, and it is possible for your voice to be powerful.
Absolutely.
Now, if I bring that home to our own land, you know, there is different. Here is here. We're a long way off here, because our own legal system, what's it, Baba Jesha? Is that his name?
Yeah.
That case is only being kept alive by the fight in the woman. You know how our legal system is. If somebody isn't constantly fanning and fanning and fanning, if not for the fire that she is lighting, the case just dies away. When I say more serious cases, I talk about murder, I talk about, they've gone, nothing has happened. You know, rape is down there. So we even have a bigger battle here, because here, women don't have the same kind of voice. No matter what we want to say, the reality is that we don't have the same kind of voice in this part of the world. So you will even still, on top of all the other things we've talked about processing, you will now process who you like, your own role as a woman, and how you'll be seen, and how you'll be ostracized, and how you'll be judged. And all of that puts more pressure on your shoulders as to whether you should be able to speak out. But the call is to say, look, more women, more people need to speak out.
Absolutely.
So that we can continue to see growth in this area. We can try and put an end to it, if it's possible.
I tell you the truth. So, but I would like to ask a question. I'll come to you, Elsie. Do you think that speaking up also is tied to the person involved? You know, because again, some will say that if the person was a nobody, would you be talking? Would you be speaking up? You understand? They have so twisted the thing to say that it is because this person is a famous person, you're trying to ruin the person's reputation, that's why you're just coming out now. If this person was a nobody somewhere, would you open your mouth to talk about it? So is speaking up tied to the person? Is it tied to who the abuser is? Or it is just that it is that time and you're ready to talk about it? Or does seeing the person like in your face every day, does it probably maybe...
Of course, that's a trigger.
Yes, trigger.
That's definitely a trigger. But for me, I think a lot of people have not come to understand what rape really is. And for me, I would say rape is a form of murder, because the process it takes to heal I don't even agree that rape victims completely heal. Right. I don't think that ever happens. This is my own personal opinion. And I think I can say this because I've had my own near rape experience. And I use near rape because, yes, it didn't eventually happen, but I know what that did to me. And I would talk about it whenever I want to talk about it, however I want to talk about it, and nobody's going to stop me from talking about it. But when it comes to celebrities and the agitation that we are seeing on social media now, I'm going to stay away from R. Kelly's case totally because Uti has definitely covered that case. This is a win, especially for our Kelly case. It is a win for us to see that justice is being served in our lifetime, and we can see that he's going to, in fact, he started paying for it already, right? So it's a win for a lot of people. Maybe people can begin to start that process of just living with themselves, not completely healing, like I said. So that's a win. But when you take it back to Nicki Minaj and what's the husband's name? Petty. So I had the opportunity to really follow this story when I was anchoring an entertainment show. So I was following it back to back because there was a time when it was in the news, especially when she got engaged to the man in question, and many people thought that she had made a wrong decision because, I mean, why would a Nicki Minaj want to fall in love and finally fall in love with somebody who has this history, yeah? And then conversations started going around as regards to the fact that this happened when he was 16. Right, and he's gone to jail. He's now reformed, and he always has the right or the need to register himself as a sex offender wherever he finds himself. So I think they moved to whatever city they live now, and he did not register himself, and that's brought up another escalation, which is why, or almost the root of this conversation involving Jennifer. People might feel that she's doing this because of the fact that he's popular right now. Because if Petty wasn't married to Nicki Minaj, would this conversation be happening? Right? It is not me saying that she does not have the right to talk about it. Now she's saying that she's talking about it because she's being harassed. She's being asked to recount her story from 20 years ago. They sent
several people to her and all of that.
And this is the reason why she's coming out to speak now. But again, I'm saying when people are saying how true are these allegations, they are not saying it out of thin air, because even people that are not popular, we've had cases of women falsely accusing people just because they know the attention it brings, they know what comes to the table at the end of the day. However, I mean, this was also one of the reasons when this thing started happening. I mean, I've always been part of the fight against rape for a very long time, maybe because of my own experience. So I've used my blog, I've used every platform I have to lend that voice. And when this started happening, I took it upon myself to ensure that I wrote a lot of articles to make people understand the gravity of what these false accusations would be on the real victims of rape. So when people come out now to say, are you saying this because of it, and a lot of theatrics that go into these things as well, I just want us to see where they are coming from as well, because there is a possibility. Let's not act because we are women and we feel the pain. No, there is a possibility. Was a young boy that went to jail for 6 years are happening, only to realize because he was there is a Nicki Minaj in the middle. Yes. So she comes out to say, oh, Nicki Minaj called her and all that. How are you sure you spoke to her? So I'm not saying she is completely wrong. Of course not, right? But I'm just saying the opinions that are differing on social media right now is natural when it comes to that particular case.
Let's take a very short break. When we return from the break, we'll try to open our phone lines. The question is, yes, we understand all the theatrics are happening, but is there ever the right time to speak up? Because a lot of times it seems like when a woman decides to come out, or a guy decides to come, although they hardly come out to talk about it because they don't consider it as abuse, but when they come out to talk about sexual abuse, we start to throw these blames at them. Why are you talking as if because the person is famous or something? Is there the right time to speak about rape? We'd really love to hear what you have to say, but we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. Now, if you just tuned in, is our Ladies' Night Out, and we are asking, when is the best time to speak up, especially when sexual molestation is involved? Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. Our phone line is also now open. Please turn off the volume of your television set when you're calling. Turn it off completely so we can hear you clearly and we can hear ourselves. Now, the number to call is 070-2500-7749. That's 070-2500-7749. Thank you. All right, so Norma, let me come to you because I saw you nodding while Elsie was talking. And yes, there's that element of you're trying to ruin the person's reputation. You're trying to ruin, that's why you're coming out, to talk about, and all of that. We can't rule out the fact that something like that, there's a possibility that it might be that because this person is famous. But shouldn't I have the right to just say, you know what, this happened to me many years ago?
Well, while I agree with Elsie that some people are mischievous in a sense, if I may borrow that language, to come up when they feel they'll probably get the kind of publicity that they're looking for, or even go as far as wanting to destroy the career of the individuals involved. But some others genuinely also might have just continued to, you mentioned the fact that triggers. Sometimes you're living your normal life and then suddenly you see the person on TV and seemingly living a larger than life kind of experience, and you remember how this same person that is seen probably like an icon in society and all that demeaned you, and you haven't recovered from that. Sometimes, like you rightly said, it's the trigger that just brings everything back to the fore. You know what?
Oh, no, hold that thought. Let me take Peter from Benin. Thank you for calling.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, Peter. Thank you so much for calling.
I'm fine. Good evening. This topic is very painful because in the Western climate, they have strong institutions. Even as strong as the institution, it took them years before they could put a pedophile like R Kelly behind bars. And I want us to narrow it down to Nigeria. The woman or the girl child does not have a voice. In case of Papa Idisha, where is it up to today? Nobody is saying anything about that case. It's so sad that we are so quick when it happens in Western world, when the celebrity, we are quick to criticize. Well, let's bring it down. The level of sexual perversion in this part of the world is so high. A senator can just come and bring a 16 or 17 or 18 years ago that they'll marry and they will celebrate them. It is high time we start putting people behind bars. The level of impunity in this country is too much. I'm saddened when I hear stories like this. I'm not really happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter. So I hear Peter clearly, and in all honesty, I mean, we were talking I think it was last week, I took a story on the Akwa Ibom, was it Akwa Ibom state government, the wife saying that, saying that there are no virgins anymore in her state because they are either getting pregnant or, I mean, this is what we see all the time. It seems like, but you see, we have come here in this part of the world to normalize some of these things. There's hardly anybody that did not get some level of molestation one way or the other growing up, because again, we used to have uncles, we used to have relatives live with us that would come at night, mommy and daddy is not watching, pressing, and all of that, touching some parts inappropriately, touching your body parts. I mean, this is something that we've all experienced in one way or the other. But did we ever think that it was important to talk about it? I would say that yes, maybe the Me Too campaign helped, because athletes like Simon Bales didn't say anything until something happened, triggered it, and all of a sudden the entire gymnast in America, the association started speaking up against some of their gym instructors. I mean, sexual abuse is a big deal. So you cannot tell me that I need to keep quiet and don't say anything because the person is famous. When I hear those kind of things, I'm sorry, I just shut down, because you cannot tell me when it's the right time for me to tell you that this thing happened to me. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I agree with you, because this part of the world, we have culture. Again, culture comes into play. When people think, some of these perpetrators are actually family members. And you see other family members say, as in they can't go out, our family is involved, the shame and all of that. And they shrink that experience as if it doesn't even, or it didn't exist. And this person is expected to carry along with life sane and normal. The thing is that a trauma has taken place. And when there's a distortion to who a person is, it's only a matter of time before you begin to see behaviors that are contrary to who that person is. Some people, when you ask questions, you find out that they don't even know how some of these experiences affect them until somebody actually takes them through that process of healing. Absolutely. Right? So it's a bigger picture than we actually know. And until people begin to speak up or begin the process of healing by even starting to say something, maybe not to the larger audience or to social media, maybe even talking to somebody privately and start their healing, then we will begin to see a whole lot more change.
Let me come to Uti, because when you were talking, I remember, the work we used to do with the NGO where we go to schools. Remember, there was a school we went to where a child was being molested by her father, and when we brought up the issue, the mother said, please, it's a family matter, leave the matter.
There's nothing we can do.
These are the things that we see. So that child is not even given the opportunity to say, this is what I am going through. So how do we begin to address culture? Because there are two things Peter mentioned. Of course, culture is involved. Then also, the fact that we don't even have laws. If we, strong backing, that can actually be watertight kind of what's it called, sessions that we saw with R. Kelly's case, for instance. We do not have those kind of watertight proceedings that would happen in Nigeria when it comes to cases of rape. So how do we even encourage someone to speak up when even eventually, if they do, what then happens to the person?
I wish I had a silver bullet that could answer that question. But for me to even begin to talk solutions, sometimes you need to try and put some sort of quantum to the size of the problem. And we have a sexual abuse problem in this part of the world, in Africa. And then when you bring it down to Nigeria, we're talking about 70% of women experiencing some form of sexual violence in childhood, right? Before the age of 18, 25% between the ages of 18 to 24.
Wow.
Of which only 5% sought help and only 3.5% received help. Those are staggering numbers. And whenever we talk statistics in Nigeria, take it with a pinch of salt, because you're like, whatever is being reported, just take it that maybe it's double or triple that, because, that's the way our data is here. So you realize that in truth, this is a massive, massive problem. But how do you fight culture? Culture is a collective act. Culture is something that, there's no culture of one. For something to become culture, there's a collective of people who are doing the same thing, believing the same thing, thinking the same thing. How do you change something when a mother knows that the child is being molested by the father and justifies it and says it's a family issue? Like, how do you want to come back from that? What do you want to say? Is it that she's trying to protect her family? She's trying to protect the man? She's trying to protect her marriage? What would justify putting your child in that position? These are some of the questions we need to ask ourselves. Because how do you begin to change the mindset of people? For starters, some people shouldn't have children. Here, it's a given.
Everybody.
You grow up, you get married, you pump out some children, and that's it. But the reality is that not every person
is qualified
should have children. Because somebody that can say it's a family issue when their child is being molested had no business having kids in the first place. We want to talk about education. And I mean, things like social media. And this is where, for me, I say, verdicts like this, stories like this, gathering publicity, they help. Because they get people to start to think differently about these things. It's not okay. If somebody who is and we've had our share in Nigeria, so maybe we shouldn't just keep talking. I know R. Kelly is the toast of the moment, but we've had our share of celebrity stories in Nigeria with rape. But the more we see that people are speaking out and people are saying it's not okay, the more people think about it. Now, if you counter that, there are people who also see the reaction. Social media is brutal. And you see the reactions that people get for speaking up. But people have to continue to speak up because people need to start to change that mindset to understand that this thing is wrong. Whether or not, by the time we get to the legal side where we start to talk about whether our judiciary makes sense or not, that's a long thing. But people, first of all, even need to realize culturally that we all need to understand that no means no. It's not a temporary outrage. It's not a Me Too movement that is trending for a while and it dies down. We need to know means no. We need to get in at that level with the next generation. Because don't forget that the next generation are even more desensitized to sexual acts than we were.
Yeah.
They are, for them, it's like the norm. I remember going to someone's house and watching their children, who were, I think, 7 and 5, watching music videos. And every single music video had naked girls.
Wow.
What is that child, a 7-year-old boy, what is he supposed to make of that? It's going to be the norm. So tomorrow, if he sees a half-naked girl and thinks, let me take advantage, he won't think there's anything wrong with it.
Absolutely. Let me take a call. Kenneth, I believe from Lagos. Thank you for calling. Let's hear what you have to say. Kenneth, are you there? Did we lose Kenneth? Oh, okay. I think we lost him. Go ahead, Uti.
So what is that child supposed to think? So there is a consciousness that comes into trying to turn culture around, trying to change people's mindsets. It won't happen overnight. Let's be clear. Because, all of this one we're talking about, we're still talking about here down south. Up north, we're still talking of
you don't even want to go there.
You don't even want to go there, exactly. So it's a slow process, but we have to start somewhere.
Somewhere, absolutely.
And we have to every day keep at it. Educating our children is so important. At least the concept of respect, the concept of no means no, is so important, and we have to sow that seed early. Because in the world of today, like I said, it's not even currency anymore. It's just cheap and it's everywhere.
Absolutely. Let's take some comments.
Okay, this one says, no name though, says nothing wrong with rape victims speaking out, but we are concerned as to why wait so long when evidence is probably lost, and then the accuser will then seek to use public opinion sympathy to get justice. Also, women don't speak out about rapists who turn out to be bombs or destitute in the future, but they always come when the alleged rapist is successful and thriving in a career or famous. The latest report of the rape leads to lost evidence. The late report of the rape leads to lost evidence and could have saved other girls if she had spoken earlier and if the rapist is a habitual rapist.
Okay, I understand the concept of what he said. Uti, let's hear your comment.
So my comment is from Ade. It says, good evening, ladies. Sexual abuse is an act of antisocial behavior. The perpetrator must be castigated ASAP before it's hidden under the carpet. In a society where the authority delays justice, they're most likely to be perpetrators. A lot happens to common/less privileged citizens. They delay and deny justice to the victims.
So I was going to say that, some sexual abuse cases are not the violent type. There's what they call grooming, where you begin to groom the girl. I think in most of the cases of the R. Kelly saga, for instance, a lot of them were groomed. They didn't even know that it was abuse. You know how you make your victim think that they are in love with you, right? And you are actually exploiting them sexually. So a lot of them did not even know. I mean, if you watched that, the R. Kelly, that series that they did, the documentary that they did, how even some of the girls were telling their parents, leave me alone, I'm in love with him and all of that. So I get that part of it is important to report early. Reporting early meaning that you are able to save other girls from being, being victims of the same rapist. But the truth is, there are some rape or abuse cases that you don't even know you're being abused until after such a long time. You now realize, oh, wait a minute, this was abuse.
Somebody was saying, I don't know who said that we should bring it home. I think it was our last caller, yeah? And what happens in this part of the world is not that much of grooming. Like, they go outright, get and do what they want to do, and they're very bold about it because nothing is going to happen on the issue. I can't call names now, but there was a rape or sexual harassment issue that happened close to us recently, right? Yes. And I saw this person's status, so I think he replied my status actually. And I wanted to get into his head because I wanted to understand if he's getting help for himself or if he's just seeing it as one of those things. You wouldn't believe that he started giving me the sub story of how the girl in question was begging him for money. The person, because he didn't give the girl money, that is why the person blackmailed him, that he was going to go diabolical, but he just decided to. At that point, I just stopped the conversation because I already know that there was a video evidence to what you did. So I didn't understand where that is coming from. I'm saying this to say that many men in Nigeria, even the ones that will come out and beat their chest and tell you that rape is wrong, are rapists and closet pedophiles. And there is a big problem in the society. I'm talking about this country as Nigerians now. And they would justify it. Yes. They will tell you they have the right to do what they want to do. And these things are picked up from little signs of patriarchal conversations.
So I was coming there. Because you see, when you have people in authority, right, suggesting to you that, you're looking pretty today, you're looking this today. They're not outrightly coming out to say they want to abuse you. But what they're doing is that they're preparing your mind. Almost like, I've seen cases of people being threatened. Your job will go if you do not have. So what do you call that? Right? What do you call that? Because those kind of things are not like he is coming outright to force himself on you, but he has put you in a tight spot where it seems like it's either you do this or your job, right? Or it's either you do this or your life. That kind of putting you in that box. So what do we call it? Because it's something that we need to still speak up on that.
Or it's still rape. It's just rape.
Or abuse, you mean?
Then it's abuse. Let me put it that way. But when somebody forces you, not even like literal physical force, but also puts you in a position where you are made to do something against your will. Now that is where it's capped. It is against your will. If you knew
had your way,
if you had your way, you would not go down this route. But you have been put in that position, then it is abuse of some sort, and sometimes you can even call it rape because now that person is also taking advantage of you in a way that you do not want.
Absolutely.
For yourself. And there's so many girls that are put in this position.
Absolutely. Let me hear Uti's final thoughts because we've run out of time.
I was just thinking that I was looking at the time. Look, there's a saying that says, let me see if I can get it the right way around now. The best time to do something was yesterday, and then the right time to do it is now. People just need to, when you find yourself in the situation, as tough as it is, need to find the courage to speak up, because it's happening in so many guises. That comment that Elsie read about you telling somebody and preventing it happening to somebody else in the future, I mean, that's just the reality there. You have to think beyond yourself that this thing has happened, and then how can I not let my experience go to waste? It's almost like paying it forward. So I've been through this, and I know it's traumatizing for a lot of people, but that's sort of, where we need to think that I want to be part of the change. This has happened to me, and I can't let this experience go to waste. Something good must come of it.
Absolutely. Elsie, how about you?
I liked what you said earlier regarding culture, and I think our culture and the way society handles issues like this is something we need to look at. Because if people, you're talking about the law and judiciary, and if you notice, the few places that have got very few people that are willing to do these things are amending their laws and doing what they're supposed to do. But when the majority of our legislatures can actually do things that we regard as child marriage and be able to back it up with a section of our constitution as well, then it makes me wonder when exactly are we going to move forward, because it means that we are in two different worlds in terms of judiciary, and then we also have a culture that sort of enables this sexual harassment, rape, child bride, and everything you've mentioned, because they all have their terms, but we can all sum them under rape and sexual harassment. So it is a big deal, and I don't know what the blanket solution would be, but I think that we need to begin to also teach our young ones. I mean, what she mentioned about young children watching explicit content. Consent is important. Even if somebody is standing naked in front of you, consent is a big deal.
If I wait, they say you have about to.
Sex education needs to be breaking down.
Stop. You stop.
Sex education needs to be breaking down so much so that everybody, including a 5-year-old, will understand what consent is at their own stage.
How about you? For like 1 second.
Just speak up. Receive the courage to say something about what you're going through. You might just be saving another life by just speaking up.
Absolutely. I believe honestly speaking, I believe that the conversation has started. A lot of people never thought that, because R. Kelly felt he was untouchable. I believe I can fly. Nobody can touch me. There are people that, and again, I think it's more difficult to speak up when it involves people like that, that's seemingly untouchable. But that should show you that anything is possible.
Yeah.
It's just for you to, someone, like you rightly said, the courage to speak up. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Elsie Godwin, Namaifanga, and Utielu. Thank you for doing this with us tonight. All right, so before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram. It's at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, we're planning a giveaway to say thank you to you for believing in the Waze brand and following the conversation. So do well to follow us now. It's at PlusTvAfrica. Like, share, invite your friends and family to watch and follow the conversations. So in case you missed today's quote, here it is again. The world suffers a lot, not because of the violence of bad people, but because of the silence of good people. So now is the time to speak up. Do not hold back and don't be afraid. Speak up, and we'll win this case of abuse or whatever it is together. All right, see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.